thinking about self-publishing and don't know where to start? Join the Spa Girls each week for 30 minutes of honest advice, tips and resources. I'm Trudy J and I am here with Shah Barrett.
Hi there.
Cheryl Phipps.
Hi there.
And Wendy Vella.
Hello.
Hello. You've just got us this week. No exciting, fantabulous guests, but hopefully we are enough.
We are all the excitement anybody needs.
Yes, we are enough. Damn it. All right, so we thought we'd do a little bit of a top 10 takeaways of 2021. How's that for alliteration?
It was fantastically. Yeah, that was good.
That was off the top of my head. I just made that up right then and there.
Yeah. Sure you did.
Yeah. So we just want to talk about some of the things that worked for us, some of the things, maybe some mistakes we've made and how we've fixed them, or just what we're loving and what we think will be helpful to you as authors out there in the authoring world. So I think that's going to be awesome.
And unscripted and honest.
Yeah.
Just shutting the door.
Oh gosh, unscripted. This could go disastrously wrong.
I'm not sure if I should apologise now.
We've been doing it long enough. We can do things off the cuff. Surely.
Yeah, exactly. Surely we can manage that.
That's how we roll anyway, isn't it? Really?
That's our life. No, it's not. We're onto it.
No, we're onto it. We kind of know what we're doing sometimes, sort of, maybe. So who wants to go first? I vote Shah.
I'd vote Shah.
Yeah.
Go, Shah.
Oh, that's not fair. My first tip actually that I started doing, and if anybody's listening to this, feel free to come and watch us on YouTube, and you can see that everybody's wearing black and nobody sent me the memo, and I'm sitting here like literally in a clown suit.
No, I just want to point out that I'm in navy.
Yeah, but it looks dark.
And so is Cheryl, actually. She's in blue, not black.
Okay, well, you're in dark.
And I always wear black.
I've got my believe in yourself topping.
I look like a Jaffa. So if anybody's
nice.
Shah, you need to get rid of that little
okay.
Anyhow,
Anyhow,
you look
my
lovely
top
today.
takeaway for this year, because it has been excuse me, the last couple of months have actually been a mental challenge because we've been back in strict lockdown here in New Zealand, and so I haven't been able to get out. Like all the schools, all the stores, everything is closed apart from supermarkets and medical care if it's an emergency. So I had to kind of give myself points or reward myself with things done, but I had to really take it down from major achievements like publish a book or declutter my wardrobe, down to smaller things, and it has really helped me a lot. So I'm just going to hold it up to the camera, and it's a list of achievements. Now every time I do something that I feel good about, it gets written on this list, and I've got an Erin Condren diary for the planners out here, and it's in the front page of each month. And it's things like, for example, I've got a new PC, and I was putting it off, but I installed all these new fonts. And so on my list, on my Chibi's list, is install new fonts. It can be that kind of thing. And I found a really, really good new podcast to listen to on Pinterest. And so I'd write that down. And it sounds silly, but it really does help, because when you get to the end of the month and you can often feel like, what did I do? Like it just every day kind of merged into something else. It felt like a bit like Groundhog Day. That growing list, it is a really good positive reinforcement that you're moving forward, even though you don't feel like it. So that is my big, huge takeaway is, and I'm always going to do this, and it is keep a list of achievements. And it's just for your eyes. You don't have to share it with anybody, but it feels good.
So how often are you adding to it? Are you doing like once a day?
As I do things. No, as I do things. I don't manufacture things to add, but as soon as I've done something and you get that little, oh, phew, I've done it. Like it could be, I've done my accounts for the month, or I've, whatever. You write it in there at the time. I think that's the key, because often we forget. We get to a Friday and you think, what have I done all week? Like you feel like a duck that's frantically paddling the water underneath the surface, but you don't feel like you've actually, really got anything concrete that's different. And this really helps. So as I've done something and I finished it and I feel good, I've got that feel good feeling, I wrote it down.
That's awesome.
So I can guarantee you'll get to the end of the month and you won't remember half of those things until you see it written down, and then it's like, oh yeah, I did do that. So achievements list for the win.
Yeah,
Go
and that's
for the
awesome.
win.
And that's celebrating yourself as well,
Yeah,
right? Like
absolutely.
remembering.
Because it
It kind of segues into mine, really.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So Cheryl,
Yes.
go take it.
Mine was all about celebrating the wins because, like Shah, the two of us have been in this lockdown for much longer than the other two, but I'm not bitter about
She
that.
just
She's
gave
not
us a
angry
look.
about
I
that.
mean, I just want to mention to people listening to this on audio that Cheryl just gave us a look, and it was a mean look, and it was like it was our
It's quite
fault.
hurtful, actually. Like it's like
Yeah,
we did it.
I know.
what
It's
a-
like
Anyway.
we spread the
Anyway.
these are the problems that you have to face when you live in the best city in the country, which is the biggest city in the country, which is we have
that's
more
a
lockdowns
big
here,
call.
and
That's
it is just
a
the
big
cost that we
call.
have to bear.
Anyway,
that's a big
Cheryl,
call.
way to go.
Okay, so because of what happened, I found myself in a situation where I was really behind in the fact that I spent a lot longer on a book than I had planned, like a lot longer, like I don't know, 3 times what it should have taken me. And so I had all these things compounding. I'd done some audio, had all these things that just weren't happening, and I had to figure out a way to start dealing with it and not slip down that slippery slope of like achieving nothing. So I was actually began to celebrate, not in a loud look at me, look what I've done, but for myself, the fact that I've taken all my romance out of, which was a stupid time to do it, but decided to take all my romance wide, and they were just sitting there, like I hadn't actually put them on the wide platforms yet. So I made a deal with myself that if I did so much writing, then the afternoon I would spend the time putting up the books. And apart from one and about another 5 that aren't out of KDP yet, I've actually put them all up. And I don't know if anybody listening has ever done that before, but when you've got a backlog of about 18 books or whatever it is, 20 books, for that pen name, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of like you want to zhuzh up the blurbs, and you want to check out your keywords, and you want to make sure all the links are there. And you've got to wait for the book to actually go live on those platforms to get the new links, and then you've got to put them in all the books again. And seriously, it's quite tedious. And actually, I'm really celebrating the fact that it's happening. It's getting there, and then I'll be able to move on to the next thing. But actually, if you do a little bit of everything all the time, it's very hard to achieve anything, or it's very hard to see your achievement. So I think what Shah does is brilliant because it's there. Sorry about my voice. I've got a bit of asthma at the moment, but
it sounds very low and sexy.
Yeah, does it?
Yeah, it's working for you, Shah.
Yeah. Good. So on top of all of that, I had a new release, and so I did actually have all these things to celebrate. And if I hadn't have brought it to my attention myself, it would have just slipped by as another day,
Because
another
often
week.
no one else is going to celebrate it, right?
No,
Well, they don't know. Most people don't know.
But lockdown does that worse to you than any other part, any other time in your life of the year.
Yeah.
You just don't you just fall into the next day, into the next week. And so I think you have to make it more of a celebration, more of a point of acknowledging it to yourself.
I love how you said that it falls into the next day. You don't notice it. I think, and I do that quite often. I finish something and then I move on to the next thing, and I just don't.
It's not even a tick, is there? There's not.
And you've got to stop and say, actually, that's awesome. And it all falls into what Shah's talking about, what you're talking about. We're just saying it's that whole. All of us are saying, stop, smell the roses, celebrate what you're doing because it's awesome. Yeah.
Take the moments. It's really important to just take the moments when they appear.
Yeah, definitely.
Doesn't matter how big or small.
All right. Well, Wendy, now that you're talking, perhaps you can give your one.
Mine was I wrote fewer books this year because of so many reasons.
Moving.
Mainly we moved house. My husband got sick. We had a whole lot of goings on. And usually I'm a sort of 5 to 7 book girl, but this year I wrote, we'll have 4, which is great. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that's good or bad, but for me, it's different. So with that it was a challenge because I was possibly looking for a drop in income, but in actual fact, I got an increase in income. because I guess stepped slightly sideways and ventured into different things and put a bit more into advertising and stuff like that. So it was a bit of a learning takeaway for me that I don't have to kill myself writing, and I don't have to rely on new releases, because while they're great, having to have a new release all the time is quite hard on a person. So that was probably my takeaway.
So for those new to the podcast, how many books were you putting out on average per year, and what have you done this year?
Between 5 and 7.
She literally just said that, Shah.
I know. I just wanted to. I know that, but I just think that I want to reinforce that. Yeah, I
so
really
5
do.
to 7 normally, sometimes more, but usually, and then so this year 4.
So that's a big change.
I've just finished the 4th actually, so I'm just reworking that. That was a very quick book because I stupidly did my edits too close together, so I wrote that very fast. And then now I've got a gap between the next this one and the next one's not due for edit until January, so I've got a nice few months to write it and take a breath and just sort of dot all the I's and cross all the T's that I've been missing, and my husband will be grateful that I am not
what are the benefits apart from the income? What are the benefits to reducing the amount of books that you're putting out?
I don't really know that I've felt a benefit, to be honest, because it's been such a crazy year, but I think my hands are probably grateful.
Yes.
And I think also what I've done this year, I've really enforced a day off, and that's something I've never had. I really enforced that Saturday is my day off. I don't touch my computer, electronic devices, like that is it. And I've never really enforced that, and that's made a massive difference. Like Friday night, I'm just like, oh, tomorrow's my day off. You know, like it's actually officially in my head. I don't do anything on Saturdays. And like last Saturday, I actually sat on the couch and read my book. And I mean, I just don't do that. It just never happens.
Did you panic at all on the Friday, knowing that you wouldn't be working the next day?
Yeah, a little bit. I picked up my computer
things?
at one stage on the Saturday, and Blake said, put that down immediately. And I was like, oh, and he's like, no, it can wait till tomorrow. You know, and so in that respect, it was, I actually, when I was sitting on the sofa in the sun reading my book, I felt incredibly guilty. I was just like, you know, I've got so much to do. But as the time went on, I was like, actually, and it was like really weird. It was like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? But it's okay to do nothing.
So I guess it's like making it a habit, isn't it? Once it becomes a habit, you won't feel so guilty.
Since we've moved house, I've really reinforced that. Like, it's really, really important that, like, my kids know that Saturday is my day off, and you know, and stuff like that. It's like, I think you have to for mental health. It's like, you know, I've been feeling a bit crazy yesterday and all the time. So my husband just said, right, we're going out, and that's like, what you got to take those moments. For me, life has been so crazy, and you know, I've been feeling so bogged down with these 2 edits close together, and he's like, right, you're coming, we're going out of the house, going for a bike ride. So I think for me, it's actually stopping and acknowledging when I get to that point that it is okay. You know, I think it's because it's your business. I'm trying to explain that it's because it's your business, you put everything into it. It's all on you, right? And we all feel this way. You know, we've all talked about it. It's all on you, so that you walking away for a day, what's actually going to happen? Nothing.
No, it's not like the shop shuts, right?
No.
Do you ever think you'll get to a point where you can have a Sunday off as well, where you have a 2-day weekend?
I probably, but to be honest, I don't know. I mean, okay, maybe I could have half. Like, I would probably just go on in the morning and just check everything. And so, you know, I've had time, but like yesterday I took the day off. Okay, I might have walked a few hours at night, but it was great. I felt, you know, planted veggies in my garden, and I don't garden. So but no, I did. I feel better for it today. So what I was just trying to get at is, you know, your business will still be there if you're taking a break.
Because I think the thing is, with when you've got your own business, there's always something else to do, right? And there's always, you've got the to-do list a mile long, and there's always something else you could be doing, and it's always on your mind, and you could work 24 hours a day and still have stuff to do. So you just have to kind of make that decision that for your own mental and physical health, you know, to stop, right?
And when you're working, Yeah.
Yeah,
And when you're
because of
working
it.
from home, there isn't that separation either.
No,
So it's
that's
not
true.
like, and
Yeah.
I can understand why in the before times authors would rent offices or have
Yeah.
somewhere else
Yeah.
that they would work so they could physically leave. I totally get that.
It's that
Mhm.
discipline of setting boundaries too. You know, like he'll quite often say to me, put your phone down. And I'm like, I'm working. I said, I know you're working, but you're always on your phone. If you're not answering an email or doing something there, then you're on your computer doing something else. He said, you've got to actually physically
Yeah.
stop.
Mm.
And I hadn't even, see, he's just retired. So he sees this. He didn't see this before. And I think that's been an eye-opener for him, is like how much I work.
Mm.
Yeah.
So that's been quite good for me, because he's
Yeah.
like, enough, walk away.
Mm.
Well, if it's somebody that supports you all
Yeah.
the time and they're telling you that, you know, maybe you're overdoing things, then
Yeah.
you kind of, it behooves you to take notice,
absolutely.
doesn't it? Really,
Yeah,
it's
it
not
does.
somebody telling you what to do.
No.
It's just they're thinking of your well-being as
Well-being.
well.
Yeah.
And longevity. We want
Mm.
to
Yeah,
be this
yeah.
comfortable. Anyway, enough about me. That was a rambling sort of
Oh, that's
roll on
good.
of a
No,
whole lot
yeah.
of things, but go Troodles.
Okay, my turn. I just want to add something onto that. Like, I think we push ourselves and keep going and going and going. And I think we're less productive and less able to do the things we need to do
Yep.
after a certain point. So if you're just finishing a 10-hour day and you're exhausted and you know for those last maybe 2 or 3 hours you weren't working at a good optimum
It's so true.
level, so
Mm.
taking a break and stopping and getting physical exercise
Mm.
is actually going to, when you come back to it, you will work 10 times better than if you push yourself to go through. So I
But it's
just
acknowledging that, though. It's finding that point.
yeah,
You know, it's finding at midnight, a couple of nights ago, at midnight, I was still working and my eyes were scratchy and I was tired and I was just like, why?
yeah,
You know, actually, why?
yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. All right. Well, let's move on. So my one, I've spent this year working on kind of, I mean, I've been doing this for a long time now, but mindset kind of stuff and digging deep into the things that have been messing with me over the years. that I've been messing with myself, right? The stories that you tell yourself and all the things you do. And so there's loads of stuff I could talk about with that. But one that I have kind of come to recently was the idea of writing fast and getting books up fast, and it's the only way to do it, and you have to get stuff out there to compete with the rest of the other authors out there or whatever, I don't know. And there's all the talk about people getting a book up a month and writing 12 books a year and all these kinds of things, and that kind of and I got to a point where I wasn't really liking the writing. Like, I was forcing myself, I was pushing the words out, I was trying to get words on paper and getting written fast and then getting them up fast. And I stopped and I took a step back and I kind of figured out, what did I want to do? And I had this idea in my head that I wanted to write compelling books that people couldn't put down. You know, those books that people just read on into the middle of the night and they kind of maybe call in sick at work the next day because they secretly just need to finish that book. And I didn't feel like I was writing those kinds of books because I was rushing through it so hard and not taking time to kind of up level my craft and get better at doing what I was doing. And so I stopped and I had a mentor session with a well-known author, and she kind of looked at stuff and helped me with some aspects of my writing and that from that. And then I hired a developmental editor, actually, and I got her to look at one of my series that wasn't doing as well as the other one, and she's onto book 3 now, and we've worked through the first 2 books, and I realized that's what I've been missing. I've been missing this kind of level of editing that I hadn't had before, where it was like writing the book and then kind of doing this real quick edit through wasn't the same as kind of looking back on the book and sort of almost taking it apart and looking through what I'd done and where things were. And I don't know, it feels like I'm A, getting better as an author, and B, it's a better story. It's everything being amped up for me, and I'm just feeling really good about it. Like I just feel like these books are going to be more compelling, and I'm getting better as a writer, and I'm heading more towards my goal to be this author who writes these compelling books. than someone who's on this treadmill just pumping out content that's sort of, it's okay, but it's not, it's not the best I could be doing because I'm not taking the time. And that was I feel awesome about that. Like, I mean, and it's sort of like Wendy was saying, I'm writing less in terms of new content at the moment, but I'm learning lots about my writing and my
you've got to enjoy it. I think when you stop enjoying it, and we've all been down there, when you stop enjoying it, that's when the problems start.
And I just want to point out two things. First of all, you've always had successive rounds of editing on previous books, so it's not like you didn't have any editing, but this is taking it to a developmental stage. And for anybody again that's not familiar with Trudy, is she's an editor she's a professional editor, and that she was a magazine editor, so she knows the mechanics really well. She's got the grammar, the punctuation, all of that. So it's not that you were putting out shitty product, like they were always really well. It's our podcast, we can just throwing owning it. But it's as much, it sounds like it's as much as for you as to develop your writing.
It was
like,
the storytelling,
and the cream on top, the storytelling aspect, rather than just making sure that the there's and the there's, and
you were doubting yourself too as a writer. I think that's massive. Like if you doubt yourself, then how can someone else want to read it? And you as a writer, that you have to like what you're putting out.
And I have readers who love my work and had no complaints at all for what I was putting out. It's just, I don't know, I felt like there was something more that I could be doing, and I've gained so much from working with this developmental editor, and it will be an ongoing process. And I can see, I feel like I'm digging deeper, and I feel like I'm being, authentic is a word that I'm trying to aim for. Like, I'm being more authentic to who I am and what I want to do I just think that there's this idea out there that you're on a treadmill and you have to just continually pump out this content, and it feels really like there's that scarcity mindset around it, where there's panic and there's fear, and I just don't think you can be creative and awesome and amazing when you're feeling scarcity, fear and panic. And
so true. And anything, isn't it? It's really hard you're pushing it away rather than bringing it towards you.
And I think that the good thing is that if you, whatever you do, whatever you're learning, whatever you're taking on board, if you're getting something out of it, then it's worth it.
Exactly.
If it makes you feel good or empowered, it's got to be worth it.
And if you're feeling good and empowered, your books will improve.
And also you've got to have the right match for the person, don't you? So you've got like what was a development editor that was well experienced in the traditional publishing world, which you can get these days because a lot of them are freelancing, and it's quite a trust, it needs a relationship based on trust, isn't it? Like you have to, so it's worthwhile taking the time. I can imagine. And that actually, for me.
It segues into something a little bit more too. And I know we talk about, there's different levels of spending money in this industry, and we've all spent money on courses and all sorts of things, but I really think that if you're really serious about writing and wanting to get better and making this a long career, like this is a marathon, not a sprint kind of mentality, I think you should spend as much as you can possibly afford on edits, on covers, on everything. And I think it's just, I think for a long time I just felt like maybe it's a self-worth issue. It's like I shouldn't spend as much money on myself because I wasn't worth it, or I wasn't there yet, or I wasn't where I needed to be, or something like that. And now it's kind of like, well, no, I am worth it, and I want my books to be the best they can be, and I want to better myself and be bigger and stronger and more amazing, or whatever. Now I'm talking to myself. And so I have to do that. I have to get the best. I have to work with people who are awesome to get there. You know what I mean? And that felt like a really big decision, getting this developmental editor to look on a book that was actually already out. Like, these are books that I had published on Amazon, and we're not changing big things about them, but we're just amping up the story. Like, we're making it more engaging, more creating doing things to, I don't know. So it just felt like a big deal. Like it's not a small thing to decide I'm going to go back to these books and spend a lot more money on the editing to get it done. But I think it's personally worth it. And it's not just a matter of the books, but it was something about my self-worth and my belief in myself, and I had to work on that to get it done. So
But everyone has
Yeah.
a different journey, right?
I was just going to say, you know, because we've talked about, you know, like moving on and like getting more product out there and all that sort of thing, it doesn't mean that that's all you do. That's the only thing you do, because it's timing. It's also, you know, where you are in your career and the ability to be able to do those things financially or otherwise.
yeah. And there's people out there like who write more than I do and do amazing at it, and they love it because it's that they love the writing and they
Exactly.
build it up and they've got that's how they learn. It's just, for me, it just felt pressured, and it just felt something else, and I didn't like that. And I have sort of come to realize that I can create something that's awesome without having to put out 12 books a year, and that's more me. I don't know. So.
No, that's a good thing. I think it's just about understanding that, about understanding your drivers, and also what gives you joy. And as you say, being creative under pressure, depending on, and that pressure will be different for different people. Some people thrive on the deadline thing, and you know, and like working the front list, if you like, the books that are just out rather than the back list. And so know thyself, as we have said.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
How you're writing, how you write, you've got to understand how you write, what works for you. Like some people write
I'm going to
some
count that
people
as
write
2
at night.
points. Can I just say that, because it was 2 points? So I'm just
Okay.
writing that down here.
Yeah,
so
no,
I've
that's
got a little tally here of how many things, just so we get to our top 10. Just saying. So we're up to 5.
Very important to get to
Okay, well, Shay, you better give another one then.
Oh goodness. Okay, so I'm torn on this one. So I'm going to go with my second option, which is do something for the future self. And this has the story around this is, I was having a really bad week last week, and I was, like I say, feeling it like a shut-in, because I am. And I had gone out for a walk very reluctantly, come home, and there was a box on my doorstep of dahlia tubers, because it's coming into our springtime here. And I literally wept with joy over this box, even though I knew they were coming, and I knew that I had ordered. And all I could say was thank you to my past self in June for ordering those dahlia tubers. And so that the lesson from that is, what can I try and do? I try and think about it. I don't do it every single day, but I try and do something for my future self in that day. And so it might be something like at night, maybe I don't have a dishwasher. I know, shocking. So it might be doing the dishes at night rather than leaving them to the morning. And so in the morning, I thank my past self for doing those dishes. It could be something like that. It could be on the writing front. It could be, you know, writing down on a Post-it note a really cool idea, maybe that had while you're having your shower or cleaning your teeth or something like that. And so it's little things you do for yourself to just give you a little, bring you ahead of something, or just a little treat or whatever, but doing something for your future self.
Nice.
That was my lesson.
You know
From Dahlia's.
I do that too, kind of not on purpose, but when you talk about it, when I order books from Book Depository, and they take a while to get here, because they come from the UK, I guess, and they get here, you know, 2 or 3, maybe 4 weeks later, and I'm always like, oh, a book! I've got a book in the mail. This is so exciting.
Yeah, and it doesn't necessarily have to be anything involved with retail, but it's nice to give yourself those little treats. And it doesn't have, like I said, it doesn't have to be something you bought, but can be a little act of service. We're so, particularly as women, we're so about giving acts of service to other people and doing them for other people and caring for other people. It's actually really nice to do it for yourself. So think of your future self as a good friend, and you'd like to do something nice for them. That's my tip.
That's lovely.
Nice.
Good work. Well done, Shah. I knew there was a reason we kept you around.
Yeah, it's important to be kind to yourself, right?
Yeah.
It is.
You know,
it is.
No one else
It's
is going to do it. You have people that love you and all that sort of stuff, but we're so hard on ourselves,
Yeah.
aren't we?
Very
And we
true.
do, and I think the other thing is we always put other people first, right? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
like-
always.
like right now, if I was starving hungry and I was about to eat a piece of something really healthy, obviously, and my daughter came into the room and said, "Mum, can I have that?" I would give it to her,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
just the way it works.
Yeah.
And,
Well,
and
that's our first thought.
yeah,
Mm.
right, of course. Here you go, have my thing.
Yeah, that's what, even if you really had been desperate.
Yeah,
It's
I
like,
was like,
it's like my children are coming over, so I sent my husband up the road immediately to get them something lovely.
yeah.
That was my first thought. Was we've got to make sure that when they come, that they can have something lovely, you know. But nothing for me. I'm
Yeah.
gluten free. I didn't ask him to get me anything,
No.
you know. But it's so funny, isn't it?
Yeah, so
Right.
so
Love
acts
is
of
food.
service.
Food, exactly.
Yeah, so I
That's
really
so
love that,
important.
Shah. I love
Thank
that
you.
idea
Yeah.
of like acts of service
Yeah.
to yourself. I think that's awesome.
Mm.
Mm.
All right.
Okay,
Who's
share.
next?
Share.
Cheryl.
Let's go around in the circle.
Okay, so this is a bit of a tricky one because as everybody knows that has been listening to the podcast, and certainly my friends here, I'm the queen of checklists. I have checklists for everything. And so what happened with my new release was the book was out, and Wendy kindly popped it up on the Spa Girls to say woohoo. And one of our lovely listeners, watchers, readers came on and said that they had tried to pick it up in Kindle Unlimited and it wasn't available. And so for all my hard work with my checklists, I didn't check that it was in Kindle Unlimited, and it wasn't.
And you
So-
were quite disturbed by the fact that it wasn't doing as well as you thought it should.
And
And we were all like
exactly,
scratching our
exactly. I
heads
was
thinking,
like,
what has she
I
done
did a lot of
different, you
work
know?
on this. I hadn't done huge promos, but I had done enough, and I'd spread some around the outsides of a biggish one that it should have been doing a lot better. I had quite a few pre-orders, and I was like, what is happening? And I've got 0 page reads. I mean, red flag, people. Absolutely. But you know, like I said, like I was talking about before, I had so much on my plate. I had been unwell this year as well for quite some time, and I missed it. And so what I want to say to you is, if you have a checklist, look at it. Tick them off. Tick them off.
Use the checklist.
Yeah. And if something goes wrong, don't look at yourself like you're an idiot, and don't assume that your work is crap, because as it turns out, it was something else, and it probably will be for you as well. It's just some things don't align, you know, you make a mistake, you just got to move on to the next thing and do better. Do better next time.
The thing is, though, that book's always going to be there. Here's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
I think this is different. It's not like you're just putting up a coffee and you forgot to put the beans in it. You know
No.
what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
that book's always going to be there. So that's
Yeah.
great. So you could
Yeah.
then regroup and go, okay, well, I'm going to put in a KU and away we
Yeah.
go. You know?
Yeah.
I know, but it's still, you want to slap yourself on the side of the head when you do that. So carry on.
I was really perplexed for a couple of days. Like, really?
Well,
Yeah,
next
we were all
time,
perplexed for you. We
Yeah.
had no idea you had
Yeah.
done
No.
that.
next
Yeah.
time you'll know. That'll be the first thing you check.
It will be
like-
the first thing I do. I actually spent a bit of time just rejigging my checklist, and
Maybe
it's
pin it to your forehead or
no,
something.
it's going
That'd be
in
great,
my diary, like with all my other little
yeah.
printouts in my diary. But you know, like it'll be in front of me. It won't be on my
Mm.
computer. It'll be in front of me.
Mm,
So
Nice.
yeah, that's important. And the other thing is everyone makes mistakes, right?
Yeah,
Like,
Yeah.
stuff
Yeah.
happens. Like don't.
learning
Yeah.
from them. That's
Yeah.
the key. That's
Yeah.
the key. I can say that now because it's been a few days.
Yeah. I'm
It's been
not
a
so
week or
stressed
so.
about it doesn't upset me quite as
I'm
much as
straight,
it did.
No worries here.
Oh, it's all fine.
I think
awesome.
for me, my next one is asking for help, and it's not something I'm very good at. So in that, I mean, I like to do a lot of the stuff for my business and have fingers and see what's going on and be sort of multitasky and, you know, and that, whereas I think sometimes we just have to take a break and just realize that we can't do it all. And that's something that probably I've done, and I've gone and given stuff to people to do for me. And I think that has sort of allowed me to just take a little bit of a breath and to have my Saturdays off and to focus on the writing and I think also going back to what Trudels was saying with enjoying your writing is that not having those million little things going crazy in my head has cleared my brain up a little bit, so that writing has become easier process. Not easy, I wouldn't say easier, it's still a horrendous process for me, but you know what I mean. It's like so not having, because I'm a Virgo, and Virgos are very orderly people in their heads. They might not be actually on the surface. So I like to know that boom, boom, boom's done before I do da, 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 da. You know, like I need to have a process that I follow. And when that gets a little bit askew, I tend to not be able to refocus as easily as I like. So being able to sort of, I've you know, given other people things to do for me, and I feel that that's given me more of a focus on what I should be doing. If any of that made any sense.
I think it
makes
must be
total sense.
absolutely delicious to have people that you trust to do things for you in a way that you could have done yourself, and maybe you might have even done it a little better, but maybe they can do it better.
I mean, I always had someone special sitting right there in the corner, but she, you know, and now that she's not with me anymore, I've got two others and they are great. But the thing is, it's my daughter and my daughter-in-law, and they have been magnificent, but they brought in a different angle. They're not writers, they don't know anything about the writing community, and I think that has been a very interesting thing as well, because they will approach me with things and I'll go, oh hell no, that's not going to work, and they'll go, oh well, we'll see, shall we, you know. And so okay then, you know, so
there's a control thing here, right? And this is what I struggle with a little bit too. You have to let go of that tightly held control over what you're doing and how you know it's supposed to be done. And let this other person, they have to go through a process of learning how to do these things, no matter whether there's someone who's experienced or not.
They're not got preconceived ideas.
No.
And the thing is, if you think about the four of us, we're deeply entrenched into what we've learned over the last how many years, 20, 15, I don't know, 12, and they've always been the same. And okay, these guys have come in on another level completely, and they're learning on the new level. And that's all the new
times
stuff
change.
that's out there.
So they're all cool.
And they're also a different generation as well.
Absolutely.
And I think we,
Mm.
even though Triddles is
younger,
these girls are also younger than Trudy. And I think what it is, I shouldn't call them girls, we call ourselves girls, but these young women are younger. And I think it's a different generational thing. I think our one was taught to question, to not necessarily question authority as much. Whereas those guys are much more, they're, first of all, you know, they're maybe not quite digital native, but they're really close. And it's just a different approach to things. Having said all of that, though, it's a different attitude, but it also is, I think, though, you've got to have a really strong sense of your own author brand in order to give up some control as well, because otherwise I think the ship can be steered off in a direction that actually doesn't benefit you, because a lot of this can be busy work as well. So I guess my advice to that one is know who you are as an author, what you want to convey first. You've got to have a really strong sense of that first.
Has been good. And you know, like, I don't know if you know that, you people out there in Spa Girls podcast land, I've separated my author names, and that's been a real learning curve, and been quite good. The contemporaries have gone more sort of, they've been doing a lot more with the contemporaries, and I've, because my historical brand is my brand, and that's who I am, and you know, and that's where I go. I'm sort of been cruising along with that, and they've sort of been more on the other brand, and so that's been a real learning curve too, and having help for that was good.
Because that's too. It's two different approaches, and that's very hard. You'd have to be very schizophrenic almost in your marketing to do both if you're doing it yourself.
And that contemporary line is younger skewed, so they're perfect for that, aren't they?
And you know, I'll push back at them. You know, if they'll say to me, I think you should do, you know, stand on the roof with a tutu on and spout whatever it is, I will say no.
That's a good idea, Wendy. I think you should stand on the roof with a tutu and spout
just
whatever.
a matter of time.
For the TikTok.
You have just done TikTok,
so
go
only
you.
three. And
When
only
you're
because
dancing
my
on TikTok,
marketing
mate.
daughter-in-law was standing beside me saying, do that, do this, do that, do this, do that, you know. But where I was going is it's okay for help. Like, I will say to my husband, I would never have said to him, I need you to go and do this for me, or I need you to go up the road and do this for me. I did everything. And now he's home. So he's doing all that half of the stuff that I had to do. So it's all just taking that little bit of a burden off that for years I've had to do it all. And I think that's made a huge difference to my writing. I just rambled again, but that's
good.
where I was going.
I think it's a good lesson. It's okay to ask for help.
Yeah, and that's it.
Yeah. And I think for me, jumping on top of that one kind of is I mentioned it earlier, but it is about control for me. Like it's asking, it's not just asking for help, it's allowing someone to do the things for me and not micromanaging them. Like I'm a real, my way is the best way and you should all do it exactly how I want. And what do you mean I didn't tell you what my way was? You should automatically know what my way is, and you should like ESP draw it out of my brain and just know what I want you all to do, and why the hell are you not doing
surely you're not like that, Troodles. We've never seen that side of you.
I just want to acknowledge that Trudy recognises that, because can I just say that the first step is
an acknowledgement, Troodles, but we love you as you are.
Anyway,
it's Virgo. It's the Virgo again. I know you're on the cusp.
I'm Virgo and Libra.
Do not lump her in with me, mate.
One big confused muddle of confusion. But I've seen myself do it so many times this year, where I start getting acting a certain way, and I'm like, and then I had to take a step back and I stop and go, actually, I didn't ask for the things that I thought this person should also automatically just know that that's what I want. Like I was doing a website design, a redesign on my thing, and I got to a certain point. I was like, no, everything she's doing is not what I want. And then I stopped and was like, well, actually, she's doing what I told her to do. So I don't know what the hell I was thinking. And we worked through it, and now I'm loving it. Like I think what she's done is an awesome job. And it was just because I took a step back and stopped and looked at what I was doing and how I was coming across. And the same thing for me and my husband. He's been designing my covers for me, and I'll say to him, okay, can you just make that look like this kind of thing, and I'll go away and I'll come back and he'll be like adding weird stuff to it, and I'm like, what is this? And I realize it's because I'm not communicating effectively. Like I'm not clearly telling him what it is that he needs to be doing. And him and I have worked out this process now, and we're all good. But it's just it's funny where if something's not going the way that you want it to go, sometimes the first place you should look is yourself. And
because we live in our heads so much, don't we? We see things so clearly in our heads.
And why can't they see that?
What
is the problem here?
I know, right? Clearly not me. It's all of you.
It's not just in the real world. How often have you written something and you think it should be really obvious on the page? What character X is thinking of character Y, and nobody has a clue.
No, and someone will come, your editor will come back to you and go, I've just had this, and they've gone, I don't get that. I'm like, how can you not get it? It's there, right there in front of you in black and white. How is that hard for you to see?
And then you put it away and you come back to it and you go,
Not always. I still can't see it usually. Go you, Treadle. So I like that.
Yeah, that's been a good thing that I've learned recently, to stop and kind of calm down, stop the crazy, and
a lot of crazy going on.
Count to 10.
Count to 10. Awesome. Okay, so what number are we up to, Shah?
So that was 1, 2, 3, 4. That was 8. So we've got
we had an extra one somewhere.
Yeah, we gave me 2 before. I've done 3 now. But
can I have 2?
I beg your pardon. We just need
10, and then
let's go one more.
2, and then we're there. Oh, one more?
One more. Just one more. It's all we need.
I've got one more.
Yes, I do. I've got one.
Getting outside.
Getting outside. It's already been mentioned, but can I just say, this is like, I'm probably the most woo-woo of all of us. And I know, shocking. It's like Confessions of Trudy and Shah today. It's like shocking, earth-shattering.
I'm like moving up the woo ladder towards Shah every day.
And then you've got the 2 solid ones. And
solid, really? Solid?
Grounded ones.
Personality-wise, feet solidly planted on the ground.
Yeah, it is honestly, and I'm not talking, you don't have to go forest bathing as a fancy term is these days, but literally, even if you've got a pot with soil in it and you plant some seedlings or seeds in it, it is so important, because we do spend all our time in our heads, well, a lot of the time in our heads, and actually literally having your hands and your feet on the earth, and the earth is so important to be grounded, like that's where the term comes from. And from a mental health perspective of it, but not just that, it's also creatively, it's super, super important. And if you're finding yourself getting caught up in this kind of spiral of overthinking or underthinking or negative thinking about your writing, highly recommend, even if you get a house plant and you don't consider yourself a green-fingered person or green-thumbed person at all, just something.
Don't get one of those ones that dies. Don't get one of those houseplants that dies.
And
don't get one that's going to live.
Yeah.
Get one of those good ones.
Preferably something in the succulent line. They're really hard to kill.
No, I killed succulents. Just saying.
No. Does it count if you wear gloves?
No, it doesn't.
I wore gloves.
No,
don't use potting mix with no gloves. You have to put gloves on. And
it's all that dirt underneath. Now, I just want to point out that some people don't have gardens.
That's what I said. It doesn't matter. You've got to grab a little bag of soil. It's a fresh air, but you can go to a park and just literally take your shoes off and your socks off and put your feet on the ground.
Oh, you have to touch your feet.
You've got to touch part of your body to the earth.
Okay.
Now, if that involves you rolling naked around Central Park, like, all the power to you. But it can be something as simple as just getting a little pot, filling it with some potting mix.
Putting your foot in a pot.
You joke, seriously, it's like taking one of those helium balloons and putting a weight on the bottom of it and bringing it back down to earth, literally.
Okay.
That's my final tip. Right. Get outside and get into the earth.
I just think get outside even is a good thing.
Getting outside is good.
Every day for months and months now.
Getting outside is good, but not everybody. Sometimes it can be an overwhelming thought. Oh, I don't have half an hour for a walk, or I can't do this. And I guess I'm trying to break it down into the super small things.
In a pot.
Put your fingers into the soil. That's what you have to do.
Okay.
It's a little bit like what I do with water, though, to be fair.
Which
you
is
know,
different.
I have a need. When I'm feeling stressed, I like to be water, so I just fill up the sink and put my hands in water.
I just bake something. All right. I just bake. Putting your fingers in a dough or something.
Exactly, and I think what it is it's manual work that's not involving your head. It's actually physically that really helps as well. Now, I just want to segue slightly before we close off here, and I just wanted to acknowledge that we do have 2 birthdays in the house this month. We've got Wendy on the 9th of September and Trudy on the 24th of September, which is tomorrow for recording. Let's say happy birthday, ladies.
Happy birthday, Trudy.
Happy birthday.
We can do a deep dive, I think, even though Trudy is on the cusp of Libra and Virgo. I tend to feel
sing
that
to Trudy then, do you think?
Virgoian traits are quite strong.
We sing to her for tomorrow?
In this one.
No, I don't feel like we need to sing. I think we've exposed.
I'm not like Wendy though. I feel like Wendy and Cheryl are both more organised than me in a lot of ways. Maybe it's the controlling aspect of it is Virgo.
Virgos like things their way. They do tend to like things their way. Just saying.
Okay, well that'd be it. Because I do like my things my way.
They also get stuff done, and both of you are very, very good about getting stuff done. So it's a nice sign. I like Virgos.
Anyway, let's let these people go.
Yes, sorry.
So, I'm sure they would have gone by now.
How about you let us
stopped
know
listening like 10 minutes ago.
We love feedback, we love emails, and we love comments. And so, and again, shout out to the people that are watching on YouTube. We're getting some really wonderful views now and lovely comments on these. So thank you so much for that. But what's your top takeaway been of 2021 so far? Anything new? Anything?
We're not talking of Vindaloo either, mate. Okay.
Takeaway, like fish and chips. I like Cheryl.
Okay, so
the Malaysian takeaways. We have in Cambridge.
Audience.
Yeah, that's all right. We don't need to talk about takeaways. That was
US
audience. If you're ever in Cambridge in New Zealand, go to the Malaysian takeaway because it is the best ever.
Oh yeah, no one's going to Cambridge, mate.
Nobody goes to Cambridge.
US
audience takeaway is and what your takeout is. Just it's a slight language difference here, so that's why.
Where can we be found, Char?
Well, Well, surprisingly, we can be found at spargirlspodcast.com, and if you Google us on, you will find us on our Twitter, you'll find us on Facebook, you'll find us on YouTube.
Awesome.
Our Twitter.
Well, this has been another episode of the Spa Girls podcast. I hope you survived and made it to the end with us.
See why we have guests on, eh?
Yeah, right. We have to kind of rein it in for the guests. But we will be back again next week with another episode of the Spa Girls podcast. But thank you for joining us here today, and we much appreciate all of you, and we will see you again soon.
Bye.
See ya. Bye.